Now, I want to gauge your reaction, Chris, on some initial impressions of this of something. Now, this is definitely something that we're going to need to revisit with more people and more opinions. There is a what?
It's gonna get loud.
It will get loud, or maybe it won't. This just seems like. I mean, this seems like something that Cassie would get heated by, and maybe even like Sean. But there is a game, right, and it was obviously made to just be like an outrageous thing. It was called Rape Day.
I thought it was Rape Lay. It was Rape Day.
Rape Day.
It was Rape something, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was called...
Okay. Sounds like it's about raping.
Yeah.
It's called Rape Day, and it's like a visual novel.
So
and like the whole point is like, instead of it being like a dating sim, like your whole... it's supposed to incorporate like very vivid depictions of women getting raped.
So it's a raping sim?
Basically.
Yes.
Now, Steam has decided to not allow it to be on the Steam store.
Okay.
Right. But there appears to be a bit of outrage about it, considering that it's a type of free speech, and like some idiots are like, "Yo, rapists have rights too. They have wants."
I get the feeling this is coming from a very specific demographic of people
that we should take note of.
Yeah.
But now, this is like similar to like the Super Columbine simulator. You remember that one?
Classic.
Instant classic. 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100.
But it just seems like Steam very rarely makes moves to take games
Didn't it move
down.
to
Like even
block like XXX games, and then people protested that?
I'm
and they
really
stopped
not
that?
sure where they ended up on that. Either they blocked all of it or they allowed all of it.
They
I do
allowed
not
it.
remember.
I remember they allowed.
Is that the end result?
They blocked it for a time, and then people got mad and they brought it
That's
back.
right.
that
That
Columbine game.
No,
No, like inappropriate, like nudity,
porn games.
porn stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
primarily hentai visual novels.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't just like a hentai visual novel. It is like it's a rape simulator.
But is it that you make decisions, or is it just a graphic novel?
I think it's actually a like you make decisions, and like the whole like end game is to
Like follow her home.
be like a super stalker sort of thing. Just like a main function of the game would be to have raped a woman.
Or
Now,
several.
I mean,
Collect them
or
all.
several. Like that's collect them all. Fuck you, Andy.
Yeah, this is kind of different, but I have spent like 10 minutes in Assassin's Creed following someone just to kill them.
All right, now here's where I want to do you think that Steam now the thing is Steam has allowed like hyper violent games before, like they have Hatred, pretty much the entirety of the Call of Duty series.
Yeah,
like they're having like the Call of Duty series.
I don't know if I call it hyper violent. I don't even
At the
call
very
Hatred
end?
hyper violent.
But it's just like
I do shoot
unmitigated.
people.
It's pretty much. I think it was the
Violent.
executions that really.
I didn't. So it's just shooting people though. It's not hyper violent.
Basically, but you know what I mean.
I'm not like torturing them.
I think, but I don't even know what I define hyper violent as.
Andrew may be the bad example because he's just so desensitized
Yeah,
to violence.
that's probably true.
I wouldn't call it hyper violent. I call it violent.
But what do you think? Like, why do you think people like treat sexual violence different from like any other form of violence? Like,
Because it makes them a lot more uncomfortable, and they're not all desensitized to it like they are regular violence.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
is the
Like,
question do I believe Steam is right in blocking it, or how do I feel about hyper violence versus hyper sexual assault?
well, it just seems like because there were other games that weren't like shut down because of sexual assault. Like even though like obviously it's supposed to be like a main mechanic of this game, but like in Heavy Rain, there was like that scene where the reporter got raped by that fucking doctor dude.
Yeah, but it's like I said when you were talking about that, Heavy Rain is not a game about rape.
That's also true.
You also might not have ever even experienced it. Like, I didn't experience that when I played through Heavy Rain earlier this week.
I think PewDiePie like messed up
He
in
might
that
have, yeah.
sequence, so he couldn't do the QuickTime events, so like he like the character got knocked out, and then like the doctor just like got all weird about it.
Yeah.
Like it was like it wasn't like a graphic thing, but it was an implied rape.
My point is that it's not a game about rape.
It's not a game about rape. Is that what you think sets it apart? Because there are other like games that are about being like very violent
I think that's a good point.
toward people.
Like the dating stuff. It's like that's about dating, or it's about banging, or it's
Or both.
or it's something
yeah, like what
that.
was
Like,
that one?
that's
Honey
not,
Pop. Honey Pop is about getting laid.
Yeah, that's I think that's fine because getting laid is legal.
Yeah, he's got a point there.
Compared to getting raped.
But like I'm gonna use
That was-
Hatred as the example. But like Hatred is a game about just killing people for basically no reason.
Mm,
Just like what, like it's just committing crimes for
I
like.
haven't played Hatred, so I think it kind of depends. Like,
You basically
is Hatred
just-
ultra realistic, or are you like the spawn?
No, it's an
or are
isometric.
you
It's an
the spawn
isometric.
Satan going around.
No, you're
You,
like
you,
a
you
normal
play
guy.
as like lawn hair slasher guy with a leather jacket and an AK-47.
You see that there's a sense of that's completely unreal.
And so the whole
I
game's
think
in
you also,
the whole
like-
game's in black and white, and it's an isometric top-down twin-stick shooter.
Yeah, see that's.
He sort of resembles the Columbine shooters, though.
No, he
I
doesn't.
don't think
No, he doesn't.
coincidence does not equal correlation.
Also, that game was created to create controversy. I played it, kind of sucks. I returned it.
I mean, like, and also, like, I mean, Steam owns the platform. They can.
That's also true. They're
They
not a
can do it.
They
government
have
entity.
they
They do
haven't
whatever they
opted
want.
to take away anything. Like even in like workshop content that would
I'm
like
fine with
like the
nudity.
Doki Doki nude patch or whatever.
I'm fine with nudity.
Well, it's not
fine with
workshop
sex.
content. That's an external link.
I thought it was workshop content.
Dojo doesn't have a workshop page, I don't think.
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
I mean, I think like sexual sex stuff, nudity, that's all fine, but rape's kind of illegal and fucked. In two
It
ways.
is very messed up. We do not condone rape.
So like, I can see why that gets taken down versus Call of Duty, which takes place in an alternate universe. I think that's another key thing. It's alternate. Like the U.S. didn't, Russia didn't nuke the U.S.
That's also true. Yeah, it's true. It's very clearly.
An
not
alternate
real.
timeline. It's not present. Whereas in that rape day, it's like, hey, this could be you.
Yeah, that's also the thing with like these dating simulators. It's supposed to be somewhat realistic,
But
but
it's-
I imagine that Rape Day, like, because I don't think anyone's actually seen gameplay. Like, for all we know, it could just be a really bad game, and like the whole thing is just to incite.
That's my theory. I think it's the same deal. Where it's just like it's a very, like in terms of quality, the game ranges from mediocre to like really shite.
And like even like Honey Pop and whatnot, I'm pretty sure like there was a sense of realism there. It's kind of like it's a person going after other people, but I'm pretty sure there was like a character who was like an angel or something like that.
I'm sure there is.
So
There
it's just
always
like
is.
I'm here to help you get laid, and it's like by playing puzzles.
There's like a sense of like the separation between what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
I would think that Rape Day, though, being like an anime visual novel, wouldn't be as grounded.
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't think, like, even though it is like it has rape as like its main thing, it wouldn't be
I think it,
necessarily.
We haven't played it. Now we haven't seen gameplay of it, so it's hard to make a verdict on that front.
I don't think that like gameplay of it exists
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know about that.
It's just like Steam like took it down because it was like, but it's been pretty unprecedented that they would take it down without even like anyone sees it yet.
I mean, maybe they saw it. Maybe they. 'cause
I mean, it's
They ha-
possible
I mean,
they
have
had
the,
to
I mean,
have.
they don't. That's not necessarily true. They have the concept. They split the.
But I don't
the
think
game is
they've
about.
ever shot down a game based on concept.
Just no one's ever made a game about raping people before. At least not one they put out on Steam.
He's like, I have a few.
There may or may not be a hard drive somewhere with Andrew's rape games.
That it can't be proven or disproven. That's neither here nor there.
That's
Unrelated.
That's
Point is
besides
they're
the
not-
point.
The point is they're not on Steam.
The point is,
Do you think? I mean, Steam is within their right, obviously, to decide what games get on and don't get on its platform. Because they're not a publicly traded company, so it's not like they have they have investors to please. It's like, oh,
I
all
don't
of our
think that-
investors want a rape
Yeah,
game.
I don't think that even if they had investors, I don't think that leaving a game about rape on their platform would please most of their investors.
Zuckerberg demands.
Zuck wants his
Zuck
rape
just
game.
walks into Gabe's office, just slams open the door, and goes,
Gabe.
"Oh, I wasn't expecting you, Gabe. Go talk to me
Like,
while I'm talking.
Gabe.
Don't interrupt me."
The fuck? What the fuck do you think you're doing? I was excited for that shit.
Here I am, Gabe, looking at the store page for Rape Day, and it's gone. What happened? Where'd it go? I removed it. Put it back.
Do it now, idiot.
You'd hate to make me angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
It just seems like it's just an interesting thing. It's just weird to me that like, and like the dev like said in response to like Valve's letter, they were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna find somewhere else that'd be willing to host my art."
It's called hentai and it's art.
You don't understand, Mom. I really want to know what this guy looks like. This dead guy.
He probably looks like the guy from Hatred.
So he probably like the fucking World of Warcraft player from South Park.
Yes. Yeah, that's just sort of like. It's just such a weird scenario, like. Because it's the only thing that makes it weird is that it's. Yeah, it should have never happened, and it's unprecedented, really. That because Steam's usually pretty like hands off. They're like,
Usually.
okay, but like this time it was like the exception.
So like I said, no one's ever made a game about raping people.
No
before,
one in their right mind has ever made a game about rape.
let alone try to publish it on Steam.
Fucking weirdo, dude.
That is weird. That's really
Yeah,
weird.
isn't it?
Yeah, I forget what was.
But I still maintain the belief that it's like gonna be, if it ever gets made, it's just gonna be a shit game that
Yeah.
was created to try and generate controversy for publicity purposes, just like Hatred was. Because Hatred also sucks.
Sad but true.
True.
The other one was it was just like something about like, I think one of the arguments made for keeping it on Steam, like it was obviously like a straw man they set up just because like they need something to stand there and just like take the place of, yeah, we want our rape game, dude. Like someone was saying that it was like, well, you're okay with all sorts of other violence, but sexual violence is something that like people don't really want to like confront.
I mean, we send soldiers into Iraq to kill people, not to rape people.
Guess it's just like
We're fine with killing, not raping.
the violence of it was just like the type of violence seems to be affecting people more so than like the actual like say like on a scale from 1 to 10, Rape Day had like a violence factor. Like even though it was sexual violence, it was like a 5, and like even though like
I mean,
other games were like maybe like a 9 or a 10 on the violence scale, like Postal like has something like you would put it like an 8 maybe.
That's pretty up there.
Yeah.
If you go to war, right? If you're in war, and you shoot a dude, he dies. People are like, okay. And if you rape someone, it's a war crime. That's like the crimes are inherent. There are different magnitudes in the real world as well.
Yeah, it just seems like people.
That's also true.
Yeah,
So like that's why I feel like sexual violence is harsher.
yeah.
People
Yeah,
don't
regular
like
violence.
sexual violence.
It's
Or
not.
real
It's not
violence, but,
glamorous.
like, it's more.
It's
They're
not-
more willing to accept real violence. Like, a
It's-
lot more.
I'm not saying that it should be glamorized, but I think it should be. Because like violence is obviously glamorized. Like we have action movies that
Oh,
are
yeah.
all about. But I think sexual violence is the sort of thing where it needs to be made more aware of. Just like not to like scare people, but just like as a manner of like teaching people how to deal with it. Because I feel like a lot of people like they're so disconnected from it they don't know what to do in the event of someone being a victim of sexual violence. And so they just sort of like take the entire matter and they don't really take it seriously.
I mean, I think
There's no like serious depictions of sexual violence that have any like very strong impacts in a lot of
Culture.
media.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. That like war and like violence and that kind of violence is more popularized and talked about. And I think just like, in recent years, sexual
Yeah.
assault and whatnot's been coming more
Yeah,
forward.
like it's been coming to the forefront and people are more aware, but it's like
Still
people
behind.
still don't know how to deal with it, you know? Like,
Well, that's because violence is physical. Sexual assault can be physical and mental.
that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's also another big difference, I guess.
I just feel like there needs to be more. Like, I'm not calling for, like, more people to be, like, pretend raped, but there needs to be some sort of thing that just, like, brings awareness to it in, like, a realistic way. Like, obviously, Rape Day is not
A good way. Of
not
doing
the
that.
ideal way of bringing to light how sexual violence happens and what to do after it. But there has to be, like, there's got to be, like, there's definitely a balance, like a tasteful way of bringing awareness to it in a realistic way
That's the hard part.
that doesn't sugarcoat it or glamorize it.
But also doesn't make you like not want to watch it.
Yeah, but
Or, like,
isn't
partake.
tasteless or just, like, disturbing to the point where it's not
Something you do,
watchable
yeah.
or helpful.
I'm not entirely sure it's possible.
Yeah, it's just a tough one.
It's very tough. Like, there's definitely a line where if you go too far, it's too much. And it's like people are just going to be turned off by it, and they're not even going to acknowledge that the problem is there. They're just going to want to bury their head in the sand further. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but see, the problem with this is that it usually starts immediately. In the case of sexual violence, usually.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a good way to, like, ease people into it either. Just like, oh, well, this is a thing that's happening now. Fuck. We gotta do something now. Or, like, and I don't think it should go to the point where it's desensitizing people in the same way that, like, Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you can't make
I've
a
done
video game, like a AAA title game about like modern rape, like modern rape 2.
The day that happens, the day society ends, I'm pretty sure.
I think I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream did a good version of that. Did you play it all the way through?
No, I did not.
Have you watched a playthrough?
No.
Do you mind if I spoil it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Chris?
Oh yeah, okay.
All right. So, in the short story, the character Ellen, like, obviously, like, there's, like, the supercomputer Am, and then, like, the 5 humans who are
Yeah.
supposed to be, like, the last surviving humans on Earth. Because Am, like, engulfed the entire world in its being. And, like, after a nuclear war. And basically it's just Am and these 5 people are left. Supposedly. Like, we don't know if Am was lying to them and if there are more people or not. But in the story, Am manipulates all of their minds so that they're all, like fucked up. Like, the guy, I think the only person supposedly left alone was the protagonist, Ted. And but he really likes Ellen, but Am turned Ellen into, like, a big, like, into a slut, basically, and she just, like, wants to fuck the other 4 dudes that are with her.
Okay.
Just because Am likes to fuck with people, like, that was the
That's what he
whole
does.
point. As you do when you're an evil supercomputer.
That's what
Yeah.
I would do.
But Am, took Ellen and, like, turned her into a massive slut, and that makes Ted super jealous. But in the video game version, Ellen was a rape victim, but she had her mind wiped. So, like, it puts Ellen into the, into, like, this scenario. Like, the whole point of Am's game, like, each character has their own scenario, and Ellen's scenario is that she was raped in an elevator by, like, a serviceman or something like that, wearing a yellow jumpsuit, so Am makes the entire level yellow.
That's fucked.
Yeah. So, like, the whole thing about it was, like, Ellen is like, you as the player, you don't know what happened to Ellen unless you make all the wrong moves and she has to relive the rape in the elevator. Now, obviously, this is, like, a 90s game and it's just pixels, so they didn't, like, depict it, but, like, it's, like, inferred, basically. But, Ellen basically is, like, a rape victim, and, like, you're sort of like the whole way about going about it was that she was like Am was mentally fucking with her. And I don't know, but I feel like that was probably the best way they could have gone about addressing a rape victim's thing, by like working around it so that you don't know exactly what happened. And then like working with the player's subconscious, like why, like Ellen's like, why is everything yellow?
But why does it bring awareness to it?
Basically just like showing that like her sensitivity to it was heightened just even by just a color. You know, just like you have to be like sensitive about what was happening, and like the events leading up to it could have meant anything for Ellen. You know, like you didn't know like if she was just like walking around minding her own business and then this guy like jumped her, or if she knew the guy already, maybe slighted him and then he like just went for it. It's like not really like the circumstances that matter about it. It's just sort of like the fact that it happened and then like the lasting impacts.
Well, that's the thing on the matter. I just think that this is kind of a little bit of a topic contained, but still not kind of a topic. I don't like when people say, don't victim blame. Like, obviously don't blame the victim after it happened, but I don't think you should ignore the things that led up to it.
There are definitely circumstances
if a girl gets raped, and she happened to be drunk, and she happened to be, like, say, at a place she didn't know, like, the dude's still a scumbag and deserves to be in prison.
Yes.
But she's also not smart.
And she's not at fault. She's not at fault.
Yeah.
Because the guy's still a scumbag. But, like, it should be, people should still say, don't get hammered at a place you don't know, because that increases your chance, and increases your risk. Be aware. Because, like, by saying it's, like, by saying, like, ignore those things, you're assuming the world's a perfect place. And that there isn't some scumbag
it's not, it
behind the
doesn't,
corner and wants to do something terrible. And you can't make that assumption.
and it's like saying, like, she was dressing scantily clad. Like, obviously that does...
Like, she has a right to dress that way.
She's allowed to dress that way, and it's up to the dude not to take advantage of her. Also, like, if you get if you're a woman and you get blackout drunk at a place, right? And you obviously, like, you don't remember the episode, but you wake up and you like, there's obviously something wrong.
Yeah.
But if you are blackout drunk and you say to someone, yes, I want to have sex with you, you're obviously inebriated and you're not actually, like, lucid enough to, like, provide real consent.
So it's on
but
both.
It does go both ways, but I don't think it's fair to assume that everything is the woman's fault.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be very wrong to say everything is the woman's fault. I think it's mostly the perpetrator's fault, because they shouldn't do that in the first place. But I think it'd be wrong to say ignore all the factors leading up to it.
Yeah.
Because I think in that case you're assuming it's a perfect world.
And this happened because of the guy entirely. It was like there were obviously other circumstances leading up to it that may have caused it, because like the what is it, like 90% of all rapes happen between people who know each other.
Something
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like some really ridiculously high number, and it's like obviously if they knew each other, there's some sort of rapport there, and like there are other circumstances that may be at play, like maybe it was like an ex.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
or
be careful and protect yourself as well. That's a good way another way to stop it.
Yeah, you like if you feel that you're at risk for being raped, maybe don't go somewhere alone.
Or targeted or something like that.
Yeah, if you feel like you're at risk, don't go somewhere alone, and make sure like you go to a place and there are responsible people around. Like if you have to go alone, make sure that like there are going to be responsible people around who can vouch for you, and like
you shouldn't have to feel like you need to do these things.
It's
but
an unfortunate
you do.
side effect.
And this goes for men and women, because
men can be raped too.
Both people can be victims. So I don't want to say like oh, don't blame the girl. I'm like
don't blame the victim.
Don't blame the victim, but don't ignore stuff that led up to it. So like don't blame them. Like if someone gets raped, don't be like, were you drinking? Get them help, and then like in the future, just think to yourself like, I probably shouldn't be drinking a whole ton.
Yeah. Because
but don't ignore it.
Yeah, like if you were raped as a result of you drinking too much,
you don't deserve to be raped.
Or like not paying attention to your drink, or going somewhere alone. I would say going somewhere alone is sort of the weakest.
That is the weakest one. I wouldn't go with that one.
Yeah,
I'd say
but
like going somewhere you don't.
Going somewhere you don't
like,
know.
Like, you can go with friends, but if like you don't know the place, it's a little more dangerous.
And not keeping track of your drink.
That's dangerous.
That's a little iffy. Like,
it's like you made a
accepting
mistake,
drinks
but you
from-
shouldn't be punished for that mistake.
accepting drinks from strangers,
It's a bad idea.
or like drinking too much to the point where you black out.
Bad idea.
That's a self-control thing.
And it's unfortunate what came from it, but.
It's unfortunate, but
And I'm not gonna.
Like-
I might like, stare in your face and while you're crying and be like, "Boy, did you drink too much? Did you, Lisa?"
no, that's just being a dick.
That's
That's like going to
terrible.
that's like if you went to a court case about this and then the judge was like, "Well, what were you wearing?"
Did it feel good though?
Yeah, did it feel good though? Fuck. That is the fucking worst
It
thing.
was
you
just
could
3
possibly-
minutes, so it wasn't that bad.
Did you like?
I don't know how to respond to
Shut
that.
up.
That's an appropriate response.
Did you like sue him?
Did you sue him?
Fucking rice gum. Fucking mong.
Ah,
Yeah. Yes, I still don't think it's fair to say to ignore the stuff leading up to it. Of course, don't blame. I would never blame. You can't.
I would never
blame
put the
You can never
blame-
blame the victim.
You
Don't
can never-
ignore the thing that comes. That's why to help prevent it, you should look at what factors leading up to
Yeah,
it.
teach people who. Basically, just teach anyone because anyone can get raped. You know.
Anyone and anyone can stop it or help prevent it. They can't stop it. They can help prevent it.
Yeah, because
Like if I
what-
see
there's
someone
like,
whose drinks getting spiked, or like I can go up and be like,
well,
knock
that's
them out.
fucked.
I can be like,
Like
knock the
knock
drink
the
out of
cup,
the hand.
just
Or,
like smack their
or
drink.
like tell the person who's hosting the party and be like, or wherever you are, and just be like,
Well, yeah,
this
you
person's
should
a
tell
monster.
the host because of the good host law. Like, if anything happens to the people at your party, then like you're held
responsible.
accountable.
Yeah. So like,
You have to make sure everyone gets
I
home
think it's
safe. You have
important
to
to
make
know
sure
the
everyone there is
stuff that
okay.
leads up to it. Stuff that increases your risk. Because you could do everything perfectly and it could still happen, and that comes down mostly to the perpetrator. That's like they're just a terrible person, just a monster.
Yeah.
So like you can help reduce it because like
I don't think it's fair to say that you were raped though, if you and the person you had sex with were both obviously drunk and not capable of giving consent. Like if
I
you
agree.
just like, if it was like me and a girl I just met, right, and then
Yeah.
we both got like really fucked up drunk, and then we had sex and we woke up next to one another, and she goes ahead and tries to say that I raped her. But neither of us can remember the events. I don't think that's a fair way to say.
that is I would say that's unfair.
Because obviously we were both
Neither of
consent-
you
and, like
were-
if we stuck around and we were
Neither
in
of
this,
you were in a condition to give complete consent. So like you're both at fault for what occurred. So I wouldn't call it rape. I'd call it like just a mistake.
yeah, that just does sound like a mistake, but it would be unfair of her
It'd be
or
either
unfair of
you.
me,
Either of you, really.
either of us to go to the police and say this person raped me.
Yeah.
That would just be unfair.
Andrew, you have any thoughts?
I agree.
With what?
Everything.
All right, I guess we're reasonable
I
then.
guess Andrew agrees with the perpetrators.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
What do you think about victim blaming, Andrew?
Don't do it.
Cool.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Chris. I think there's like, although the victim should never be put completely at fault, there are things that the victim might have done to provoke something.
Like, if something happens to a victim, I'm trying to think of a good way of phrasing it. Don't blame them, but learn from what happened, so you help prevent stuff like that happening in the future.
The other thing is to also like, I guess you should like educate people on what not to do if you
I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that. I think that's good.
just like educate people on what not to do if like in the event that like you're going somewhere you don't know with people you've never met, what to do and what not to do, the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I've been seeing
If-
more stuff like that, and I think that's good.
I think we need like a handy guide on what you should not do.
The problem that's the biggest problem with alcohol. I think is that like you could know all those things, and if you get, I'm not saying hammered, but you say you kind of drink, you might forget those things, or you might
Yeah.
get carried away, and like it's like people say, well, you shouldn't have to worry about that. It's like, but you do.
The best laid plans of mice and men oft go awry. Like, you can have, like, the most
it's just not a
perfect
world.
strategy, and it's usually, like, the strategy that goes out the window first.
Yeah. It's
Especially
just
in,
not
like,
perfect world. It's just not a
Panic,
perfect world.
in, like, a panicked situation,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's going on. Like, say, like, we all went to a party, and I like, lost track of you guys.
It happens so fast.
Yeah, it would happen so fast, and there's nothing you can do. Like, all right, let me pull out my checklist and, like, look. It's like, no, I gotta
You gotta act.
react.
Yeah, you gotta make a gut decision. It's a tough situation, but like, yeah. I mean, Andrew goes to a bunch of parties.
Yeah, Andrew's a party animal, man.
Yes.
But he's always safe because he knows
Andrew's
what to do.
always safe.
Yeah. That's the
Always
thing. I think
armed.
that's what it should. Yeah, Andrew's packing.
I wear a chastity belt.
Fucking try it.
I wear a chastity belt at all times.
My chastity belt has an anti-personnel mine attached to it. So.
Yeah, you better fucking believe it does.
I have
My-
a claymore.
Mine ingests nerve toxin. It's into me.
Mine's injects hormones into the perpetrator that turns him gay. It's like that. There's like the conversion. It's like from like boy to girl or girl to boy drug. It injects that into him. It's like,
It injects him with a lethal dose of HGH.
just Agent Orange spray.
Yeah.
Agent Orange.
It's motion detected. You just walk by. You just go in front of just Agent Orange.
I think they should make. I think in schools they should teach
Agent Orange.
sexual defense.
How to install a chastity belt.
How to install a chastity belt. Like, yeah,
How to conceal a pistol in your anus.
yeah, they should definitely teach you, like.
It's called
things about-
zap tearing.
Is that really what it's called?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I believe him.
Zap tearing, dude. Takes a special kind of man.
Or woman.
Or woman. I have seen that. I have seen that.
You know, special kind of ass.
But
Skill.
I think that's something they should teach in.
Well, how would you
schools?
teach that?
Well,
What would you do? Like, what
Don't
would
accept-
be a topic?
don't accept like. I guess it would be like a health class sort of
I think-
thing.
yeah.
you
They
know?
already do that.
Yeah, the problem is they already do it. Like, I think Miss Inglesia. I'm pretty sure that was something we went over.
like what, like
Like what not to do.
safety sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I've definitely heard it at college.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I agree with it, and I think they should be saying it, maybe even more.
Maybe more like they should have you take a refresher course once a year. I think.
There should be just some kind of like meeting or just like, I think like mandatory thing, just like
Then once a year is too much. It's just going to piss people off. They have to do it.
make it brief. Don't waste people's time.
I
Like,
guess
look,
so.
Like, did you
like,
have
look,
to
this is
take-
important. Just look at it quickly, and then you can go. We're not gonna keep your time.
But it's important that you know about
But as
this.
long as you just know, if you just know these things, that's fine. You don't won't be wasting your time.
It's not like the
It's
school can
5
like,
minutes.
yeah, it's not like the school like if the party's happening off campus, there's not a whole lot the school can do. I mean, you could call the campus police because they're probably going to be like the closest safety force there, you know? Because sometimes like the actual police may take longer to show up than the campus police.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, at Stevens, if you call 911 from Stevens campus, because you're so close to the city, the call actually goes to the 911 dispatch in New York. So they have to transfer the call to the Hoboken, like Hudson County 911, and then then they would dispatch emergency services, which is like that can take up to 15 minutes for everything to go down for like emergency services to get there. But if you call campus police, they're like
They're right
there.
Yeah, campus police is good.
I trust the campus police.
Oh, same. Yeah, no, they're good. They haven't taken me, so that's nice. I appreciate that. No, yeah, campus police is a good thing. I like that. Yeah. Right, Andrew?
Yeah, mine don't carry guns.
Mine do.
Mine do.
That's why yours are good.
I'm in a city though, so it's like
Yeah.
Ewing, baby.
I wish mine carried guns. That made things a whole lot better. I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna do in certain cases. Unarmed.
I mean, what happens in Gettysburg? though?
Nothing. Just in theory is all I'm
I mean,
saying.
Andrew's there. Should probably be armed. Man's dangerous.
I think they sort of assume that like the students and other faculty are armed, like the people just around are armed. Like, are there like enough weekend warriors in the general vicinity of the school that?
I mean, in the town, probably, yeah. No one who actually is involved with the school, though, I imagine.
Imagine
I don't
just
think
like
you're allowed
all the
to have
deans are
guns.
the only ones with guns.
That'd be hilarious.
Arm the teachers.
Hell
Pistol
yeah,
whips
brother.
the troublemaker. Stop talking. Polish it.
Just fire a 22 into their foot.
Fuck.
Just spins a revolver. Like each ball has a different child-looking name on it.
There's-
The classroom, it's like, Billy, your foot.
Like there's a kid talking, and the teacher reaches the desk like, "This is the best handgun ever made. The Colt Single Action Army. 6 shots. Powerful enough to stop anything that moves dead in its tracks.
Just spins it, fires, randomly just blows up the projector. Just like,
Now I'll show you why they call me Revolver." And then he throws a second one to the kid. Draw!
Draw the fastest hand in this side of the Appalachians.
There's nothing better than slamming a long silver bullet into a well-greased chamber.
Jeez, it's sexual. Cocking it back. Oh, the sound.
It's a little deviant, if you ask me.
Those are lines from Revolver Ocelot and Metal Gear Solid. Revolver.
Fucking Revolver Ocelot.
Dumb name. Ocelot. Yeah, I'm the Revolver Ocelot.
Names their child Ocelot.
I don't think
Clearly
it's
a
real
loving
name.
parent. Who's not addicted to crack.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that's probably not his real name.
Oh, I had an encounter with a crackhead the other day.
Oh, did you?
Hold on, save it. I gotta pee.